the founding president of our democratic nation, has departed. He passed on peacefully in the company of his family around 2050 on the 5th of December 2013.
Op die aand van die 5de December 2013 word die hele wêreld getref met die nuus van die heengaan van een van die grootste leiers van ons tyd, meneer Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. Tata Nelson het 'n merkwaardige lewe gelei. Vanaf 'n nederige begin in die landelike Oos-Kaap tot die wording van 'n ikoniese internasionale figuur. Deur beproewinge en verdrukking, vreugde en vieringe, het Tata Madiba steeds 'n nederige en 'n eerbare mens gebly.
I stand here before you not as a prophet, but as a humble servant of you, the people. Your tireless and heroic sacrifices have made it possible for me to be here today. I therefore place the remaining years of my life in your hands.
Now we are all looking at Mandela as upgrade, but he was a down-to-earth man. He was one of us. Of course, today he's an icon, and I mean the world is venerating him, and which is a good thing. But it was all humble beginnings. I must say, my mum, she had a finger on the pulse all the time, and I mean these people were coming from Johannesburg, and they had to be in court early in the morning, and it was freezing. And I mean, I think it was just the mother in her that came out and said, no, they need to be served something warm and need to be given a sandwich. And she carried on with that. I think she was very passionate about the struggle. This picture was when Mandela wanted to meet them when he was released, meet Amma and my mother.
Yeah.
That's the green sari that she had on that they gave to her.
The green, gold and black sari that he had given her as a present. Her daughter, Vasiki Mudli, recalled that she took her with a Tupperware full with fish curry.
I'm glad that we kept all these photographs.
At least memories, eh?
Many memories. And also I think it's good for the coming generation to know all this.
Yeah.
Our children and their
Our children, grandchildren.
Because these things are soon forgotten.
Yeah.
One of the very exciting things about this time is that we as a people have been experiencing profound grief. They say it's never a good day to become an orphan. And so there's a sense in which all of us lost a father, but all of us have been celebrating a life that inspired us. And the important thing is that we take that inspiration to help create the world of our dreams.
Tata Madiba was menslievend van hart en het 'n groot liefde vir alle mense gehad. Veral vir kinders, omdat hy geglo het dat die toekoms in hulle hande lê.
My naam is Cornelis Jones. Ek het van Madiba dink 2003 of 7 toe sy sekretaresse in die hospitaal was by Gateway Medical Center. Toe hy 'n groot boekie gebring na sy sekretaresse. Toe moes ons almal in die sale ingaan. My dogtertjie was omtrent so 3 jaar oud. En toe ons nou almal Madiba se hand wil vat, toe sê hy nee, wil die kinders aan vat. My dogter het gesê, ek het Madiba se hand gevat, ek gaan nie bas vanaand nie. So ek het persoonlik vir hom ontmoet. Hy het nou wel in my hand gevat en ek het hom van aangesig tot aangesig gesien. En dis wat ek van hom geleer het. Hy is baie liefvriendig, hy is liefdevol, hy omgee vir kinders.
Dr. Ruth Segomotsi Mompati, 'n voormalige MK-soldaat en politieke aktivis, het Tata Madiba teëgekom in die baie vroeë dae toe hy nog 'n prokureur was en nou saamgewerk het met 'n ander gevalle staatmaker, Tata Oliver Reginald Tambo by Mandela and Tambo Associates.
Ke di ke na le tsala e bereka ko Mandela and Tambo e le typist. A ke dutsela ga ke dire sepe. Ke be ke bona gore the next one ke ithute shorthand and typing. Tsala ya me a ba boela ko sekoleng a ba tlogela mmereko ko Mandela and Tambo. So go ra gore go na le post ko Mandela and Tambo. Ke be ke apply. Ya ne ka gore ke ne ke le shorthand typist. Ke be ke khona gore ke hirwe ke go bereka ko Mandela and Tambo. Kana kwewe ke ne ke setse ke le member ya African National Congress. Ke be ke ya teng ke go bona Mr. Mandela ka re ke ene o na abatla Comrade Mandela ke ene o na abatla typist. I mean go le impressive go ha o tsena mo di office tseo go na le secretary le Mandy Msimang was the clerk. He was not articles. Then there was a messenger. Then there was a typist, Marian Hashe, and she was also not just typing, busy on the phone. It seemed to be ringing all the time. She was sitting there. Mandela and Tambo, good afternoon or good morning. Can I help you? I'm sorry, Mr. Mandela is not in, or Mr. Tambo is not in. I'm sorry, they're busy. It was such it gave me sort of a fright. I realized, am I supposed to, am I doing that? No, I'll just be typing. I thought, I didn't know that it would also be my duty. In a very busy office. Some of them were very funny cases. And then past cases. A lot of our people went to prison because of the past laws. So sa gore ke bereka ko Mandela and Tambo sa bula khora gore ke nne ke dire thata mo lekgotleng.
My first introduction to South Africa would have been when I was about 10 years old in New Zealand, and there was a petition at our local church, no Maoris, no tour, because the Springboks had invited the All Blacks to come and play in South Africa, providing that they left the Maori people, the indigenous people, behind.
Tata Madiba het ons geleer dat sport ons as 'n nasie kan verenig. Wie kan ooit daardie historiese dag gedurende die 1995 rugby wêreldbeker vergeet toe hy opgedag het in 'n Springbok trui? Die Madiba magic was in volle swang, so swart, wit, bruin, Indiër en vele ander nasionaliteite een geword het.
I was at the World Cup rugby in 95, and the question we asked at that time was, what odds could you have got 5 years prior to that event? In other words, when Nelson was still in jail, and you say, okay, here's the scenario, 5 years down the line, we have a World Cup rugby championship in South Africa, remembering we were banned at that time. We have a final between the All Blacks and the Springboks, and we have Nelson Mandela, who at this time is still a prisoner, in the Springbok rugby jersey, taking the cup. What sort of odds could you have got on that assumption? And there are no odds. It was an absolute miracle and almost statistical impossibility.
I stand before you filled with deep pride and joy. Pride in the ordinary, humble people of this country. You have shown such a calm, patient determination to reclaim this country as your own from the rooftops, free at last.
On this day,
eyenza uba sibe lapha sizovuyisana nesizwe sonke soMzantsi Afrika ngobomi bukaBaba uMandela. Silolu sapho asinayo nenye inyembezi ngoba sibonile into yoba uluntu loMzantsi Afrika, isizwe sonke besimthanda uBaba uMandela, ibingengowethu sodwa. Simbonile into yoba uBaba uMandela ibingutata wehlabathi.
We need to be doing something more because there's this man that had so little, he fought for so much and gave us so much, and here we are and we're just celebrating what he gave us, but we're not doing anything more to further the country. So I think, we'll take that. And
I think a big one for me, if I can say, must be forgiveness. There's so often we have such small little fights or tiffs with our friends, and just to think about the fact that he spent 27 years, I'm not even 27 now, my entire lifetime behind prison, and was able to forgive all those people. It's absolutely incredible.
When I was in high school, we were given option to study African history. I chose South African history because of the nature of the country, the kindness of the people, and Mandela himself for being so kind and open his heart to all the foreigners to come in this country. I was so inspired to come here, hopefully one day to meet him, but unfortunately I couldn't meet him, but I'm glad I'm in his land and I'm happy and I feel peace and I feel like home because I'm an African woman, so this is my home.
for me, I think Aldi represents wisdom, and the wisdom obviously comes with age and comes with experience. So I definitely think from Madiba's side, his life represents experience, and his life sort of speaks for himself in terms of what he has done and what he has been through. So I think what we can take from that is definitely to respect our elders and to honor them in the aspect that because they've walked a road longer than what we have walked, and even his book that he wrote is called The Long Walk to Freedom. It's not a quick walk, and sometimes I think we're in a time or season in our lives where everything is quick. The microwave is 20 seconds, everything is drive-through, but actually to get somewhere it's a long walk.
Role ya editshwantsho ko hopotsa le bane ba lesio gore re tlhako kae re ya kae. Ditshwantsho tsa ka tsa gale party ya pele ya Mandela a tla Robben Island. Setshwantsho sena se nkile ke birthday ya Mandela ke di 90s. Ke bana ba pele ba o kena dikolong tsa makgowa. Ho ne ho le monate ka wena no bona hore dikolo ke fitlhile ka 1991. Ke tlotla ke le motlotlo gore ke ne ke le part ya history ha etsiwa gore ne ke le teng ke na le bopaki ka bana ke mo ke na le ditshwantsho tsa ntho tse ne di etsagala.
I was born in New Zealand. I trained as a priest of the Anglican Church and joined a religious order of the Anglican Church in Australia. And in 1973, I came to South Africa. When I was 4 years old, I had this problem. I couldn't decide when I grew up, should I be a priest in the church or a clown in the circus? And when I became a priest, my brother sent me a message and said, well, now you've succeeded at both. I had read a great deal about South Africa before I came here. But I suppose in my naivety, I thought that when I arrived in South Africa, I was going to find three groups of people, the oppressed and the oppressors, and a third group called the human race that I would belong to. And I suppose the first shock was realizing that because I was white, I would be part of the oppressor group. I often say that the day I arrived in South Africa, I stopped being a human being and I became a white man, because suddenly every single aspect of my life was decided by the color of my skin. I heard about this man, Nelson Mandela, and I heard that he was so extreme, so dangerous, that we could never see his photograph. We couldn't read anything he'd ever said. And so I was going back to New Zealand to visit my parents in 1975, and I went to the local public library and took out from the library No Easy Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela. And it shocked me because here was a book in which there emerged the picture of a man who had wisdom, moral stature, moral vision, who understood not only black aspirations, but white fears. And I began to realize why no one was allowed to read anything he said, because it was so compelling, it was so reasonable, that it would capture the imagination of any rational and reasonable and humane person. And certainly from that time, I embraced the goals, the values of the ANC, of a non-racial, democratic society. But for me, the turning point, and I suppose for many of my generation, were the events of 1976, specifically the killing of school children. And it was the killing of school children in 1976 that caused my pacifism to collapse and brought me to the painful conclusion that indeed an unarmed and defenseless people, to use the words of Nelson Mandela, had a right to defend themselves. But it was only after I was expelled from South Africa that I took the steps to join the ANC. And so I said to the ANC, the illegitimate government of South Africa has expelled me. I'm asking to become a member, by which I understood I will be gaining citizenship in a country for which we are still struggling.
Kamalam Achitufu. So guys, serious. Zo celebrate as a memorial service ka tata chema yesishini.
Hey Kamalam Rolihlahla Mandela ndisuka kwindawo yaseSeres apha ndize uzovuyisana nensuku zakhe uTata uMandela ezogqibela awuthi wathi wasebenza yena ngendlela yakhe. Uyabona yena uzamile udibanisile imbuphane yezizwe bezingavani wazenza kube sisizwe esinye. Zange akhethe bala kuba libala elinjani nelinjani, waye waphuma ngaphandle waza nezophuhliso ba mazize apha eMzantsi bazi abantu bangaphandle bazo-investa apha eMzantsi Afrika.
So mna ndiyavuya uTata lo yenzayo nakwisport, kudala isport zadlalwa ngamabhulu wodwa kodwa namhlanje sakwazi udlala irugby.
Imbeko efuneke siyenzile ebantwini abadala nokuhlukumeza kwabantu abadala, funeke sizame uyilwa loo nto singabantu abatsha. Ngoba yonke into sithi siyifunde siyithatha ebantwini abadala, abantu abanolwazi. Yena uTata uzamile ukubonisa apha kuthi baba thina lutsha masenze njani.
One day when I was living in Zimbabwe, the Zimbabwean authorities called me and they said, we have information that you're on a South African government hit list. From that day, I had armed police guards 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I remember saying to myself, what is it that I'm living for if in fact they may wish to kill me for it? So in that period, there were times of fear. You know, you wake up in the night, is this an attack? But my prayer for myself was that I would live my life not based on my fear, but according to what I believed in. As we know, in February of 1990, Nelson Mandela was released from prison. And those of us in exile, in the euphoria of the moment, we said to ourselves, well, we're the survivors. We have survived the struggle. We are going to go home. With people in South Africa, we're going to be part of building a different, gentler, more just kind of South Africa. And we also said, we also began to relax. We said to ourselves, be careful, be careful, be careful, but in reality we relaxed. And then negotiations were about to begin. On the eve of negotiations, April the 28th, 1990, I opened 2 religious magazines that had been posted from South Africa to my post office box. And when I opened the magazine, they exploded. So for the first 4 months, I was as helpless as a newborn baby. I could do nothing for myself. So I had to begin a new journey, if you like, of recovering my life. 20 years into democracy, there are still, if anything, increasing signs that we're still a traumatized nation, that the past is still coming back to haunt us in many different ways. And I believe that we need a national conversation in which, as South Africans, we can speak about our pain. And in the speaking about our pain and listening to one another, we can become a more united nation.
You see this picture here? This was at the airport. Madiba was going to leave somewhere, and I had to take him and make sure that he's safe on the plane that he was going to fly on.
With Mandela, being with him every day was it was an experience, because there was lots of things that I had to attend to for him. He had a very busy itinerary. You know, people from all over the world wanted to see and visit him, so he always kept me busy.
There's a sense in which all of us lost a father, but all of us have been celebrating a life that inspired us. And the important thing is that we take that inspiration to help create the world of our dreams.
And I stand therefore before you humbled by your courage, with a heart full of love for all of you. I regard it as the highest honor to lead the ANC at this moment in our history, and that we have been chosen to lead our country into the new century. I pledge to use all my strength and ability to live up to expectations of me as well as the ANC.
As jy betrokke by ons wil raak en jou stories wil deel, moet jy asseblief 'n e-pos stuur aan thegoldenyears@sabc.co.za. Jy kan ook kommentaar lewer op ons Facebookblad, The Golden Years op SABC2, of tweet @goldenyearssabc2.